This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Caroline Roberts. I am the chair of the Leader Development Community of Interest for the Society of American Military Engineers. I am thrilled today because Opportunities 101 across the society. So ways to get involved, ways to flex your leadership skills and muscles, and to learn more about our society. So I wish that I would have had this, when I was coming up through the society, particularly as a young member, young professional, trying to figure out, how all of these things worked. So to have this resource put together, I think is really valuable for right now, but also as a document that can be a living document and evolve into the future as the society evolves. So today, our speaker on these opportunities across the society is a longstanding member, Colonel Patrick Hogeboom. He is with the Office of Economic Adjustment, where he's been there since July 2019, supporting the Department of Defense efforts to improve readiness and resiliency of military installations and defense communities. He has over 25 years of service to the U.S. Army in combat, construction, geospatial, and training assignments. Thank you, Patrick. And prior to joining OEA, he served as the Deputy Commander for the South Atlantic Division within USACE. He's also served on the Army staff as the Plans Officer for the Office of the Chief Engineers as the Deputy Commander of the USACE Transatlantic Afghanistan District. And he has been in every position, I think, imaginable within the society. And currently, he is a key member of the Leader Development Community of Interest. So, Patrick, thank you for your service, and thanks for serving with us on this community of interest. So I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. And you can give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay.
Oh,
yeah,
I just turned my camera off. But
no, that's okay. Yeah. There's plenty of thumbs out there. We all have one, right? Well, if you don't, that's okay too.
There you go.
Really appreciate the time, and many of you on this call could actually give this brief and probably have different takes on it. So, in some cases I might be preaching the choir. You already know some of this stuff, but I mean, I'm trying to get at some things that maybe you haven't heard. And in a lot of cases, I'm going to share a little bit about what I've had to deal with F.SAME and the opportunities and things. So, if you haven't already, some of you found the comments section. There's a poll you can take if you don't want to do it because you think there might be a virus that comes in. I'm okay with that. I generally know who's going to be on so far. It's the poll results are telling me that we've got about a quarter young professional, a quarter individual member, a quarter LDP participant, and I think I voted for a fellow. I know we got plenty of other fellows on this call too, but do go take a look at that poll. Do appreciate the opportunity today. There's 27,115 SAME members, and all have their own story, and so I'm privileged to have a little bit of time here with you to talk about it. The members come from 102 posts, 25 student chapters. We got field chapters all across the world, and it's amazing the leaders that step up are committed and they can be counted on. Realize that most of you all have day jobs. You're all volunteers, and your participation is going to ebb and flow over your career. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And we'll talk about marathons here in a second. Can we go to the next slide, please, Eddie? Eddie's going to control the slides, and I'm going to try and make sure I can see them. There we go. So here's our agenda for the day. I'm just going to check the poll one more time. You saw the choices. It's pretty much even across this, across the line. You have the national office represented. So again, people come from all kinds of different backgrounds, and I didn't let you choose, I think, more than one. But I assume most of you are familiar, because you're on this call. You're familiar with the mission, the vision, and the strategic outcome. But how do you apply that? I mean, where do you fit in, and what can you do? I do want to thank Mike, Caroline, Roland, the entire LDCOI. I spend many of the Fridays. In fact, the last 3 years, we spent Fridays at least an hour talking with Eddie, Angie, Susan, Eric, Amelia, Charlie, Mike, and Gerald, Thad, Jimmy. There's others too, but those are the ones I just we've been talking to quite a bit here recently. Also, the LDP mentors that come in and out, the post leaders, nominators, and of course the LDP participants of all, are many of those who are part of this COI. I really appreciate your dedicated service and support to the program. You know, Mike asked me 3 years ago to help out with this leader development program, and I don't do the heavy lifting. I just do a little bit on the side and what I can, but you know what? Many hands make light work, and so it's very helpful to have people doing that. You know, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the strong support of our SME Foundation, national president, past president, board members, and Joe Sherdell in the national office. I can't say that enough, and we'll kind of dig into about, you know, why that's the case. So let's get further. Also, I want to thank Ann, Jill, Kathy, the membership COI. They're very interested in this brief. Telling the story and getting folks involved is a key component on there. So if you're not a member of the membership COI, I encourage you to check them out. They put out a lot of information to a lot of leaders all the time, and it's great to get that information from them. So, you know, it's, again, the society is awesome, and you know, speaking of awesome, I want you to see the next slide. If you're, let's go on the next slide there. Yeah, you can't spell awesome without me, or F.SAME by that matter. We don't need to go over the bio. I think some key things is that 26 years is where we're at now. Most of that's been with F.SAME. I had a goal to serve as a USACE. In USACE, I have had 2 assignments now. I had a goal to become a fellow. I've achieved that. But I have now a goal to run a marathon in every state. I'm working on that. I got 30 states, and I've got, you know, obviously 20 more to go. And during COVID, I took care of DC virtually, since it's not a state, didn't count. But if it does become a state, I've already got it done. And that got me into the New York City Marathon, which I'll run here in another year or 2. Based on the title of the slide, you probably know that I like Taylor Swift. She loves to put Easter eggs in her comments in her show. Check out Conan O'Brien earlier this week. She probably hinted at the fact that 1989 will be the next album that comes out when she re-records, but we'll have to see. It is an interesting note. I did look back. I was going through my papers over here. I was declined my first admission to Virginia Tech, and that's kind of what it is. You just kind of, you know, I was kind of bummed. You know, I'm a senior in high school. I applied only one school, and I got declined by it. I had to quickly apply to my backup, which was West Virginia, and they quickly accepted me. So I don't know what that really means, but it took a while for Virginia Tech to come back and say yes. But I looked at the date of the rejection letter. It was actually Taylor Swift's birthday, 12/13/1989. I couldn't even believe it. So anyways, there's my tie-in to, again, an awesome pop star in person. But also, there's also some awesome folks around here. You know, I got to thank Heather and for nominating me to become a fellow, Bob Ruck and Neil Wright for kind of pushing me and keeping me along track. I've known those guys for quite some time. And you know, the only thing I'm disappointed about is, you say I'm a fellow, but there's no Army, there's no other active duty Army officer. I'm the only one. And that's kind of a bummer. But you know, we got to kind of work on that. So we'll try to do that together. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I think that's about it. Let's go on to the next slide. So first of all, you probably look at this as a mess. You know, this was the mind mapping from Rear Admiral Adamant's, but this was something we did in the COI. Many of you guys have seen this, but you know, just trying to get after that. There's, you know, all sorts of areas that can be involved. They all lead to collaboration, develop multidisciplinary solutions to the national security challenges, which is what our, you know, our strategic outcome is. You know, but we're unique too. We're international, federal, state, local, public, private, academic, you know, not just one service, multi-service, multi-professions, engineering, construction, cyber, even the marketing folks and the folks with business development are totally welcome, of course, in the society. And there's a joint service environment, which I kind of mentioned. Let's go to the next slide. Not much difference on this slide. Yeah, I saw a Swifty comment there. Thank you. Develop leaders for the profession. Go back one, please. There's 3 that almost look the same. This one just has a list of things you can participate in. I just kind of ran through items you can participate in, things that you can get involved in, and every one of them has a tie somewhere on this chart or somewhere in the thing. I mean, you know, even 8th grade algebra, that's a very important class if you want an engineer. You probably have to pass algebra somewhere down the line, and if you don't take it in 8th grade, you're probably not get calculus. If you don't get calculus, you're probably not going to get engineering. Hence, math's pretty important. But you've got to ask yourself, you know, why should I be part of the society? You know, what do I want to contribute? What do I enjoy doing? I'm going to talk a lot about post operations and just participation. I'm not talking about business development. I'm talking about IGE really mostly today. That was just what I kind of got involved in when I came to a new place. I just said, hey, where can I help out? And that's kind of what, and when I wasn't at a new place, I would do it some other way, virtually, whether it's helping streamers or something. So you just got to ask yourself, what can you do? How much time do you have? How can you contribute? And, I've really enjoyed the relationships, long-lasting friends, mentors. I sent Ed Gibson a note yesterday. I'm not sure if he's looking to even see it on LinkedIn, but it is interesting. And I was going to talk about this later. I'll talk about it now. Sal Najomian actually won the first Ed Gibson Veteran Service Medal, Veteran Transition Medal. Well, Ed 20 years ago told me not to get out. He told me, hey, stay in. I mean, you're a captain. If you're having fun, which I was, it was like, hey, just stick around, stay in. It's good. He was mostly dealing with retirees at the time. He then was changing, and he was adapting, and he was transitioning folks that hadn't retired, who was separating. And he did a great job at it, and obviously we named a medal after him. Well, Sal won that first award. So I sent a note to Ed and said, Ed, you told me to stay in. So kind of interesting that the transition medal is going to Sal, who's now helping me get out. Because Sal actually is leading the transition workshop, which I participated in, and I actually appreciate the work and the passion he has into setting up folks for success when they do separate. So anyways, a little story there from a long time ago. Where are we at? We are still on the slide. Let's go one more slide, please. So the value of SME, it's up to you. Make it work. Knowledge, relationships, best practices, teaming, the mentors, resources. Find your passions, your purpose. And as you see on the bottom, it doesn't have to be complicated. Just get involved, putting a hand in there. Just help out. All right, let's go to the next slide. This slide is usually saved for the end, but I wanted to put it in here because this is kind of, this briefing took, actually, so if you're counting, we're on slide 7, I think it's 24 slides in the whole brief. So you can zooze off if you want to get to the end or whatever. Also, I put in the chat when there's a quiz too. So you can follow along, you take the quiz, it's on your own, but just to kind of give you some sense of SAME. But these resources, the membership team, very helpful. They have a lot of information they can share with you. We've got 2, very capable folks that are working there in the national office. One's Eddie, and then we've got Rob Biederman, brand new, probably some of you guys haven't heard of him. He's the Industry Government Engagement Program Manager. But these folks will be instrumental and are into helping us stay connected. I mean, those 102 posts, they have regional vice presidents, we've got COIs, and the national office has a lot of work to keep everybody updated. But this list of resources comes from a homework assignment, which I got to figure out how to get that out to you. But it's a 16-page PDF, and but in the back of it, it has this too. So we'll get that figured out how to push that at the end here. But communications, the Military Engineer magazine, the editorial calendar, the calendar, of course, the real-time newsletter, social media, post-level communication, all that's very important. But I've found that the virtual the list of events on the website very, very helpful. Some of you were able to join me with the San Antonio Post, and the Albuquerque had a tri meeting with Central Virginia and the I think it was the Pikes Peak. I've been Denver Post. I apologize if I got that wrong, but they had a meeting as well. It was very well attended, and Buddy Barnes spoke during Engineer Week. But it's amazing how many post meetings you can actually attend virtually. Now the challenge is, if you're in the Pentagon, you probably aren't able to get very good cell connection. You're probably not able to get on some of these devices and computers and stuff. And so yeah, there are some challenges with some of the folks in some of the different situations. But I'm still working from home and was able to do a lot of stuff, and I had a little bit of time to knock it out. But it was funny. I had interesting. I had someone recently tell me I need to get more involved in SAME, and he said he's found it harder now that he's virtually, and that may be true. You got to be in their shoes to know. But nevertheless, the calendar events is great, but it's only as good as the post as they update those websites and that information. There's also a member account, where you can sign up for COIs and get in there and update your dashboard and your preferences, and then so I encourage folks to continue to keep that updated with your demographic information, your contact information. Just stay connected to SAME and make sure that they stay connected to you. Let's go to the next slide, please. So here's the governance. So 47 member national board. Now I added it up. I think it's 48. Why? Because we have a third vice president. Relatively new, but you still have 48 members on the board. Well, that's 17 regional vice presidents. You got 13 committees and councils. You got 12 elected directors. It adds up. Okay, but this is our governance. Let's go to the next slide. You'll see here's an organization chart. I thought this was pretty helpful. You've got the board of direction. You then have you see the vice presidents and president-elect down there at the bottom. Each of them have a certain area of responsibility, whether it's like the awards, recognition, membership, kind of the human relations area, whether it's the STEM and leader development and the veterans outreach, that's a portion, or then the IGE and resilience. And then you have, of course, communities interests that fall underneath there. And the national staff is helping out throughout the way. So, and then you can see the Academy of Fellows has a president-elect or vice president kind of overseeing that operation as well. So what you don't see on here is the foundation, and that's by design. We'll talk about the foundation, the S&T Foundation, toward the end of this brief. Let's go to the next slide. So this slide is something that I don't think any of you probably have seen. I mean, maybe you have, but it doesn't really matter if you have or haven't. The key is these are some areas where the president, the vice presidents, the board said, hey, I can raise my hand and help out in these areas. So I was interested in one with Bob Ruck's working on, roadmap for active duty members while serving. So I provided him some thoughts on that, and off they go. But you see Century Book. Guess what? If you haven't already, order your Century Book. It was already pictured on an earlier slide. It was not an Easter egg. It's just there. But but it's something that was it doesn't just happen. It has a team. It has to work, and then you can see that Patrick Hogeboom had a hand in overseeing or leading that effort. But you can see some other folks in there. If there's something on here that interests you, reach out to them. These folks are more than willing to talk to you. And you see Mike Darrow, LDP. He's got a team, but he's asked too. He's asked for volunteers, and he's asked people personally, but also he's had people come up to him and say, hey, I can help you out with certain areas. And we've expanded the leader development program and the COI because of that. Next slide. So I hinted at the membership numbers already, 27,115, but this is a chart that you can actually see the breakdown. You'll see that we have nearly 500 high school members. I didn't know that. We have more sustaining members than individual members. But the society is best served when it recruits and retains those that align with the organization values. Maybe you haven't heard these: integrity, patriotism, public service, national security, technical competence, excellence, and environmental stewardship. So those are generally the folks that we do the best when it comes to recruiting and retaining. I did put a little example on here. You'll see it every so often. There's a lot of sustaining members, and I obviously couldn't put them all on just this little tiny chart, but it is interesting how long some of our sustaining members have. Obviously, the longest could be 100 years. And I don't know who the longest sustaining member is, but I can tell you some of these sustaining members, they don't stay members, and sometimes they will lose membership for the local post, but still be at the national. And so post membership always are pulling their hair out trying to keep these guys on the rolls and making sure they fill all their slots and those things. But just to be aware of that sustaining member program and how that works. But that is the major force for our organization when it comes to membership. Let's go to the next slide, please. So communities of interest. We're on a community interest call today. 102 posts, 16 COIs, and 2 task forces. You see the COIs on the right. But look, have you seen this chart before? This is the health of the COIs. Holy cow. Boy, if you're an environmental COI, you're like, oh boy, I got 785 members, but how do I become healthy? So they're working on it. I'm not gonna put any pressure. I mean, I'm not in their shoes, but that's something. Maybe if you have an environmental background or facility asset management, maybe you can go over there and see what you can do to help. Again, many hands make light work. So, but you see, really, they're red probably because they didn't update the performance plan or haven't dug into it a little bit. So take a look at that. And I'm not asking you just to go ask them cold call. You can also take a look at the new F.SAME volunteer opportunity. It's something that's recently been put out there. It's on the website. Volunteer by completing there was a national call for volunteers, and you can go out there and look for the opportunities. I know this COI has a couple. And the enlisted COI is one that I've heard of a couple times. So if you have some interest in that, that's an area of some support. And then you see the others as well. But just something it is being tracked at the national level, and something that you may be able to get involved in. Let's go to the next slide, please. The cornerstone of F.SAME, industry government engagement. So this is how it was formed back in 1920, and to promote solidarity and cooperation between engineers and civil and military life. So on this, I highlight some of the strategic partners. I don't think this is all of them, but we have a number of them. Here I'll mention NSPE here, I think later on. NCES, I think I can probably get my hands on a pencil in about 5 seconds from them. Yep, look at that, 5 seconds or less. This is the pencil I use to take my PE exam, most likely. So nice to see that they're on that chart as well. But if you have a relationship with them, it's pretty interesting, and it might be good to see what the relationship is, and maybe how we can continue that collaboration. Because the knowledge sharing, the best practices, the joint training, all that mimics real world situations, and that collaboration is great for all levels. And to achieve that, I put on my little notes here: achieve consensus, efficiency, and transparency. Big words I wouldn't normally use, but you get the point that helping with their mission helps with our mission, and ultimately it betters the society that we're working for. I have on here that Dwayne Stone, Verstar, he was the first SAME sustaining member to visit the SAME headquarters when they moved to 1420 King Street. They have been at 607 Prince Street for years, and Joe Shordell was there to welcome Dwayne, and this was all during COVID. I took note that Sal, who is the CEO of Matrix, he actually stopped by, and he was hanging out during Capitol Week, taking the sessions there. If you're following on social media, you saw him taking pictures. He was a picture of him actually taking the conference from there. But Dwayne beat him to it. So Dwayne gets credit for being the first CEO to actually visit the national office. But that relationship is ongoing. Many of those, there's a reason why the headquarters is still in DC. There's a reason why a lot of the sustaining members have offices and headquarters in this area as well. Verstar's office is right off the Beltway where 395 and 495 intersect, in case you wanted to know. I have on this note here, it says time for a story. It's not a big story, but it's something that was interesting to me. I've been all over the country, El Paso, and I've been in like 14 different posts or student chapters I've been affiliated with. But so I've always tried to be involved in SAME in some way. Sometimes it was just secretary treasurer, sometimes it was just being on the board, sometimes it was post president. But one time I was in Afghanistan, and I was actually reviewing some streamers, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I was reviewing streamers, and I had a question. I think it was with the Jacksonville Post, and I said, "Hey, I got a question." I mean, I think I was really getting on to how does wounded warrior support help. The criteria was support deployed service members and their families, and I wasn't quite sure that they had met the intent of the streamer. And so anyways, they came back, and they're a great post, and easily had the information that we needed in order to award the streamer. This was an outreach communication streamer years ago. But that led to a speaking engagement. Next thing I'm being asked, hey, can you come back and talk about construction in Iraq and what you've been doing and what you're doing on the border there with Iran and building and actually closing bases and the environmental work and stuff. And so I did. Came and spoke at the JETS. JETS is the Joint Education Training Symposium. Those are the old regional conferences. If you've been around a long, long time, that's what they were called. But those are great conferences. Regional ones are almost sometimes better than the national ones because you're dealing with folks in your region. And I've actually found them we've had great times, especially down in the South Atlantic region. I feel like they have some wonderful locations to do these at. But so it led to a speaking engagement. Again, I said, sure, but I was already doing one thing and it led to something else. And that was an awesome opportunity to get in front of folks. And so I appreciate Jacksonville Post for that opportunity. Next slide, please. I won't spend too much time on this, but I do want you to see those little small charts. Those are work plans. And these are, each one of them is a different action. And this happens to be for the resilient COI, but you know, every one of the COIs has these different work plans. And you know, what are they trying to do? Who's doing it? When? Where? Why? How? What are the metrics? And so these are some areas where we can use your help. You know, at whether it's preparing the work plan, or actually developing the metrics, or actually executing. And there's ones for every one of the COIs, and some of them may be red, like I mentioned earlier. That's why they probably don't have these updated, but. Just want to bring this to you. You know, I'm not going to spend much time on it. I'm actually in a position right now that deals with building and sustaining resilient communities. So it's very interesting that we're talking about that, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. And many of you know how to get a hold of me, and some of you have. In Capital Week, a couple of folks have reached out and said, "Hey, I want to hear more about that DSIP program you guys have." So by all means, you can do that. But today, I'm mostly talking about opportunities within F.SAME as far as getting involved at the national or the regional or even the local level. Next slide. So if you're keeping count, we're at slide 15. We're moving right along. LDP, I don't need to talk too much about this, but I want to put it in here because right now is a great opportunity to build your own LDP at your post. There's only a few posts that actually have one. We can only put about 20 participants a year in the leader development program at the national level. It's come across as a very popular program. It's very well done, but you know, there are and there's ways that are being developed for mentoring guides and how to do it. And I really appreciate the work that's being done in-house to make this something that can be replicated at other posts. And in some ways, you may have maybe there's a sister post that's too small or doesn't have the resources. Bring them in. You know, there's ways to do this, and we think we've proven that you can do a lot of it virtually. With limited dollars, and so do take a look at the opportunities there. The book list, the speaker list, a lot of time has been gone into thinking about it, and some of the speakers we're using, we're going out now, they're going on their third year, and I think they're getting contacted through LinkedIn and through social media and some other ways about how to continue to learn more about themselves, about how to be a great leader for their team, you know, and so but do take a look at the program and potentially seeing how you can tailor it to fit the needs from your organization. So develop, next slide please, develop leaders for the profession. That's goal 3 of the strategic plan. We have a conversation recently about coaching and mentoring and, you know, being an advocate, you know, some of those different terms you'll see on here. This will is really about, you know, different places where you can action some of those items, you know, camp mentors. There's also junior camp mentors, and if you didn't know that, junior camp mentors are someone who I think generally as a college student, it might be the definition of them, but I know that a lot of times there are folks who have been to the camp before and came back to support it prior to you know, moving on into the AEC community or off into military service. But a lot of talk about mentors and coaches within the LD COI. You know, I'm actually talking today, and I have to give some credit to Matt Altman. He's on here. You know, he was charged by Heather, developed a key leader development commission, and I was really focused at the board of directors, the vice president, some of the key positions at national. I don't think you guys have been under a rock. You saw my name on the ballot. I said, well, hey, why not? You know, let the society determine if who they want to have. They want to have an Army active duty officer on the board of direction, fine. If not, I'll continue to do what I can in the society and the places I'm at. Atlanta Post has always been very warm and welcome to me. So has Fort Benning Post and El Paso Post in the past. So I'll continue to support them, which has been awesome. But at the end of the day, you know, take a look at some of these opportunities within mentoring. Some of this doesn't. It's really just on your time, and it's pretty cool. I think I heard recently, I won't say it, you know, we've had some of the LDP students, they're interviewing potential mentors. I thought that was pretty impressive, you know. I mean, that's pretty cool that they're figuring out someone maybe geographically closer or have some other skills or traits or interests that might be of interest to the mentee. So that's pretty cool. And again, I'm talking about the LD Leader Development Program as far as it actually has a mentorship component to it. I want to bring your attention to 2 awards before I leave this slide, the Severdrup and the Gerald C. Brown Mentoring Award. The silver drop, past recipients include Matt Altman, Lucia Niemeyer. That one is for outstanding contributions to engineer design, construction, research, development, or planning for over the past 3 years. Generally, it's given to someone at 39 years or younger. But continue to just put that in the back of your mind. There might be someone around you that you're working with that you want to look at this year and nominate. Nominations are usually due in the January timeframe. So that's for the previous calendar year. But do take a look at that. The Gerald C. Brown Mentoring Award, Heather won this award in 2018. That one is really inspired out of the pledge the fellows took, where they're charged to be a mentor. And it's something that's very special because obviously it's great to be pat on the back, but it's even better to see folks that you've mentored or coached or teached or been an advisor to go on and do great things. And so, but that is out there. Let's go to the next slide. So the STEM pipeline, K through 12. I talked about 8th grade algebra. I don't know if you know this, but STEM wasn't actually always called STEM. It makes total sense to me. You think science, math, science, math, science, math. Oh, engineering is an application, right? Science, math, engineering. And then technology was kind of like, oh yeah, the guy's doing tech. Well, now tech is like, not just technology or just shop class. It's a lot of work into that. That acronym got changed in 2001. It's no longer SMET. It's now STEM. But I thought I would share that little factoid with you. And if you can help out with the science fair, if you can help out with robotic competitions or be on something with the local school or partners in education programs, whatever else. We've got camps, of course. We've got the only 2 are going to go in person this year. If you haven't heard that, only ones right now. It still could change too. Marine Corps camp and the Army camp. But Eddie knows a lot more about that than I do. But this is definitely an area that we want to keep focused on, and it's goal 4 of the strategic plan. So very important to the society to enrich that STEM pipeline for the nation. Next slide, please. So awards recognition. I was going to conclude with educate, nominate, participate, congratulate, and then repeat. I've already talked about it once, but I mean, none of these folks on this chart here won an award because they were just handed to them. It was all of the application process. There are many folks that were that had submitted nominations, but over the years, there's sometimes it's a little bit light on the nominations. So I do ask you to take a look, take the time. Nominations again are due usually around February 1st for the national awards. Small business awards are usually due around September 1st. The nomination process, you can find it online, and it's a peer review process. And that's a volunteer opportunity. I don't know if you know this, but volunteers actually review every one of those award applications, award submissions to determine the winner. Just an awesome opportunity to hear about great things. I'll tell you something else. I was 2016. I was nominated to be a National Society Professional Engineer, Federal Engineer of the Year. I did not win, and I know General Bostic was really disappointed because he was tired of the Air Force continuing to win, and I feel like I let him down. But you know what? I really wasn't the right guy because they should have put in John Henderson, and guess what? They did the next year, and he won. Not only that, John Henderson also became a fellow. And he, I might have my years off, but he became a fellow. Also was a political appointee. He became the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force, again, an Army officer. But I want to take a step back before that because Pat Miller, Air Force, I've known him for a while. Actually, he's a wing commander now at Wright-Patterson. I actually sent a note to him yesterday as I was thinking about him. And, he actually shared his nomination packet with me. And so I had a very strong packet because I knew what it took. I knew what it had to be in there. And so when we worked with, I think it was General Helminger, actually put forth most of the effort. But we shared the information. And so it was no wonder why I probably became a top 10 finalist because I had a really good mentor or someone to look at, which was Patrick Miller. He had a very successful 2015 because not only became the National Society Professional Engineer Federal of the Year as well, he was also promoted in 2006. And I became a fellow the same year. So that was something useful. I talked about that story where I was overseas. I also want to tell you that I was, at one time where I was at Fort Benning, I did a whole bunch of streamer nominations and stuff. I mean, the post did all kinds of stuff, but it had to be typed up. And so I helped submit the streamers, and it went up, and the post, of course, won some streamers. And that post, the post president was the brigade commander. And, actually, I haven't told too many folks of this because it's not on my OER, but he told me to my face, say, hey, Lieutenant Colonel didn't really think you probably deserve the top block, but the work you did in SAME was amazing. I'm going to give you a top block, and I wish you the best success. That was really helpful because, it was really, I felt like I was just serving. I'm serving in a volunteer capacity to the greater the good of the nation, and someone much higher ranked than me. I was a captain at the time. He was an 06, a colonel, and he decided to give me a good evaluation because of some of the extra work I did outside. Obviously, I was doing fine inside too, inside the organization. But anyways, I thought that was really powerful and impressionable, and it just goes. So I just kept plugging away, kept sweeping the floors, kept doing what I had to do, kept working. But I thought I'd share that little tidbit with you. There's four other awards I kind of want to highlight: the SAME Gold Medal, the Tudor Medal, the Tomlin Medal, and the Gibson Veteran Transition Medal, which I've already talked about. So I'll kind of skip that one. But the Gold Medal, that's only been it's been awarded since 1920. It's given to an SAME member who demonstrates outstanding leadership skills in support of the SAME mission. In 2005, they named it to the Brigadier General Walter Backus. He was executive director from 78 to 93, and he's a two-time recipient. But there's two other recipients who won this award twice: Rear Admiral Brescia and Colonel Markle. So just something to note that's the premier medal. Was mentioned on the previous slide. Actually, it's still on the slide. So John Mogi won it this past year, and if you can see that real small. And then when it comes to the, Zach Payne, I love talking to Zach. He won the Tudor Medal. He's on this chart. Look at that, right over there. And then, and his for outstanding contributions to engineer design, construction, research, development, or planning over the past 3 years. And a civilian young professional of SAME, age 39 or younger. So congratulations, Zach. If I haven't said it already, I'll say it again. So that's really cool. And then the Tomlin Medal, John Schmidt was he won it for outstanding article in the TME. That's not an easy award. First of all, you got to be able to write. Then you got to be able to write well, and you have to end up, competing against a whole bunch of other people who wrote real well. So congratulations, John. And I do appreciate everybody who submits articles to the TME or real time, because that's how we share information. Because one of the things I got out of the streamers when I was actually on the streamer committee for about 5 years, I was the chair of the outreach communication streamer, and I loved it because I read every one of the streamers. I took that information, I then shared it with the executive director, and it was amazing. Actually, I shared it with the streamer lead. What I would find out is at the JETSI, half the information that was being shared was from my streamer. It was information about scholarships. It was information about working with the wounded warriors or the veterans. It was stuff about just working with the community. It was amazing some of the information that comes out of these posts. But it was compiled and then it was shared, and then but that started kind of some of the things we have now. We have you can go on to the document exchange online, and you can share information, see previous streamer nominations, and that's really helpful for those that are in leadership positions at posts as they try to prepare them. I know the process has changed, but that's something that's still out there where you can share that information. Let's go to the next slide, please. So the final goal is preparing service members and veterans, prepare service members and veterans for the AEC industry. This doesn't just start at the end. It starts during service. It's throughout. I've always said this is true, and hopefully some of you guys don't force me to prove it wrong. But SAME is not going to give me a job. I mean, it's not going to get me potentially, exactly where I want to go. At some point, I have to get out. I mean, 30 years, you have to get out of the Army. I've been in 26, so I have to leave at some point. So that's no secret. But I do kind of expect that at some point I'll know kind of what I want to do, where I want to go. But then again, I look at Sal and some of the folks that work on this have said, hey, 5 out of 6 when they separate, they're on to their second job within 18 months. So why? Well, there's all kinds of reasons. We won't get into that today. But the SAME transition workshop is an excellent opportunity for kind of get at it, to figure out if there's a good match. Is it the values, reputations? Are you going to a place that takes care of people like you're looking for? But that transition is something that's it's difficult. But it's not just for retirees. It's also for those who are in the middle of the service. Maybe they're on one side of the country, won't go to another side of the country, or in a completely different field. But F.SAME is a great way to connect that. And I have to point out something I saw yesterday on LinkedIn. A lot of folks apparently will get a job, and as soon as they get a job, it's like, don't put me in your network anymore. I'm off of LinkedIn. Don't do that. Stay in LinkedIn. That you never know when you might need someone. And as we have a saying in emergency operations, working with all those hurricanes down there. I wasn't initially right at ground level, but you want to know people. So when times are bad, you're not just calling them on an emergency. You kind of want to already have that relationship. And so that starts now. It doesn't start when you look into transition. So I do ask you to stay connected in those ways. General Semonite has some guidance to military members. I thought I'd share. I know he's no longer the chief of engineers, but he did tell military members, hey, you can attend meetings. You are not to serve in your official capacity. You can wear uniforms in certain situations, and leaders should take advantage of leader development, training, individual development opportunities. But his big point, he wrote this in handwriting on policy. He says, be aggressive, be engaging, be legal, but work the relationships. And so I do challenge all those out there who are in uniform, or those who know people who are in uniform, to take a listen to this recording, or take a look at the policy, and do get involved, because there are ways to do that. I think I've hit all this up here, so we'll go on. Yeah, let's go to the next slide, please. So slide 20, we're on post. This is where the bulk of our efforts are focused. We have talked about JETs. You got the regional vice presidents, the COIs, task force, but the post, the field chapters. Make sure you select up to 3 posts. You're allowed to work on allowed to have membership in more than just one. Don't assume you or your company are an official member of the post. Do ask. Check with the membership folks of the post. Attend regular scheduled meetings. Participate in industry days, the industry government engagement opportunities. It may not even be a field that you're working on, but you never know when something may come up. For example, went down to we're at the USS Midway. This is Jet C, I don't know what year, but it's in San Diego. And we're walking down there near Broadway. Wow, this is the former home of Naval Pacific West, Naval Headquarters West. And some of you guys in the Navy, I apologize, I'm chopping that up. That project was in a fence. It's been in a fence for like 12 years. They demolished the buildings. Now they're working on finishing the naval headquarters, and they've got a whole bunch of other stuff going to be hotels and some other stuff there. But I was asked a question about that project just this week, and I'm like, oh, I remember walking past that 10 years ago. Never know when something may pop up. And I'm not saying I'm an expert in it, but I do understand the terrain and how it situates, and how it's a very key portion of the downtown San Diego, and how it could be very much an economic development. And it's a private-public partnership. Where I heard that term? SAME. Where, and I know Corps of Engineers does a lot of them, but I heard it first here. So you never know when you might find something that's going to be useful, even from one of these meetings. So this post, this slide is where I'm supposed to give you an assignment. I want you to take a look at the 2005 Streamer program. And Eddie, I probably need to have your help at some point afterwards to find out how it can be found by going to the document. It can be found by going to the document exchange, but the links I don't think actually work quite that well because it's more active. But you go in the document exchange, go to Streamers, and you find the 2025 Streamers program. There's only 2 documents there. One's an Excel spreadsheet, which generally mirrors this PDF file, which is much prettier in 16 slides. But we'll find a way to get that. And if you are listening to this on the recording, of course, you can go find out exactly the way I just described how to find it. But I do ask you to take a look at that, because I believe in this, there are 100, 200, 300 points that can probably be done by each one of you on this call for your post. A small post only needs 600 points to warn the one streamer that's outside. There's a membership streamer and then there's another streamer. That's it. But 600 points gets a small post to streamer. And I think people on this call are probably doing some of these things. And there's ways to do this. If your post is really good at golf tournaments, you probably could do a whole bunch of golf tournaments and you could get the streamer. If you're really good at STEM, you could get STEM. If you're really good at IGE interactions and then working with maybe public-private partnerships, you could get it. Yeah, thanks, Eddie. And you can follow him, what he's doing. And it's no problem to continue to show that. If you go to Streamers on the left-hand side, and I think it's the very bottom, you'll see 2025 Streamers. And again, this is document exchange. You can type it in Google or some search, it'll pop right up, SAME document exchange. Might have to put society. And then that top, the one with the blue icon, that 2025 streamer program team, click on that. It's a PDF. It's a nice glossy 16-page document. You can just scroll through there and show them what it looks in there. As you're doing that, something that I told Matt Altman I was going to quote him. He said, "Hey, putting your hand up often leads to some awesome opportunities." There's that word "awesome" again. So this is your chance. Take a look at this. Say, you know, I can help with this. This is an area I know. You can go to any one of the slides you want. You can see how there's points in there. Probably going more in the middle of it, Eddie, and you can probably see like goal 1, and it probably has some tasks. You see the objective, and let me see if I zoom in. One of them says, ensure post members are serving on a COI steering committee or serving as liaisons to the post. Guess what? If you serve on that, you have 50 points in your post. Boy, you're almost 250 more, and you've achieved what my goal was for you guys. So there's more like that in here. So it's a completely different program. But we do need to share this information with others around the society, because these events and these actions will be inputted throughout the year, not just done at the start of the next calendar year. So something to think about. And this will obviously be talked about at Post Leaders Workshop and coming up, and you'll hear it at JETC and some other places too. Let's go to the next slide. Academy of Fellows, they've got an 8 action plan, vision. There's the charge and the pledge on the right. You'll see it in yellow, but really inspire, mentor. They also have a Golden Eagle award. It's a beautiful crystal eagle, but it's one of the fantastic events to go to. If you haven't been into one of those Golden Eagle dinners, impressive. The folks that are there, just a lot of friendly faces, a lot of smiling faces, a lot of really wonderful folks that have been around. It's usually in the DC area. I think now they're trying to put the Golden Eagle more in line with the JETC. Of course, last year kind of threw that for a loop, but there is actually 2 awards given each year. One to someone within the society, and then someone outside, either in a government or an industry. So definitely something to look at. But there's other ways to learn more about fellows. I'm not going to put points on, but they are very much part of the society. Some posts have way more fellows than others, and I've seen where fellows have actually gone to other posts to try to help out and encourage. And guess what? You don't have to be a fellow to do some of the things that fellows do. That's why I'm sharing the slide with you. This is there's their goals, there's their objectives. Many of you are doing these things. Continue to do them. And guess what? When it comes time to apply for a fellow, you'll get it. But the key is, you've got to continue to be engaged. That is the key, I think, aspect of it. I guess I'll stop right on that. So let's go to the next slide, foundation. SAME Foundation just completed its founding donor campaign. Eddie Gonzalez is actually the program manager I see here. It's very well organized, some great people on the board. A couple of folks are on this call. They're actually part of that board, and I really appreciate the work they do. But the foundation provides support to the LDP camps, camp alumni scholarships. Did you know they even had that? Camp mentoring. This is something that they're really getting after that purpose of fostering engineering leadership for the nation. And this is definitely an aspect of SAME that allows SAME to be SAME. How about that? So I'm about done. I want to tell you that in my ramblings and my stories, I think what you probably have heard, since it's only 45 minutes or an hour, you haven't really got a sense that the leaders you don't become leaders overnight. There's a progression, there's an evolution. I put that in the slideshow. Sometimes you'll be a post president, sometimes you'll be on the board. Sometimes you'll step up and do something virtually. Sometimes you'll be part of a JETC planning committee. Those things aren't fun. I mean, and also the JETS planning committees. They take a lot of work, and if they're in your area, please step up and help out. So leaders, they don't need to take any prescribed steps or follow specific paths. I've told you there was one rule for success. You saw my quiz. Let's go to the next slide. This is my one rule for success. There you go. I've been hiding that from you. That's Des Linden. You know what Des Linden did this week? I was preparing this weeks ago. Des Linden on Tuesday goes out and becomes the first woman ever to break 50K, break 3 hours in the 50 kilometer. 31.2 miles if you're doing math. This is basically a 547 mile. Des Linden missed the Olympics last year by 11 seconds. She didn't let it hurt down. She went out and she ran every day in the month of October. 1 mile on day 1. October 2nd, she ran 2 miles and she kept going. 496 miles later, she ran the entire month. They call it Des-tober now. She's looking for ways. She's getting close in, but she's won Boston in 2018. That's that picture you see there. Taylor Ewert, is a very talented race walker and runner. She runs for Arkansas, but she's an artist, and I really like this photo, so I shared it with you. But I also put Taylor on there for another reason. I don't know for sure if her father is a SAME member, but these are the kind of people that could be. He's an Air Force retired Lieutenant Colonel, Wright Patterson, and he's an engineer. So at some point, he probably either associated with SAME or not. But these are again, you never know who out there you're tying to, who we're associated with. There's plenty of folks in SAME who run, and plenty of them are way faster than me and run Boston every year and stuff. But Des Linden is the one who coined that phrase, keep showing up. That's why I have her on here. I didn't come up with that. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. Just keep showing up. Keep showing up on Fridays when we have our LDP call. Keep showing up to your meetings. I didn't tell you this story, but I was in El Paso going to a board meeting. I showed up, and what did they say? Hey, Jacobs, I think it was Jacobs. We lost the contract. USACE is going to do it all in-house. That major $1 billion hospital, we're not going to do it. It's all going to be done by Fort Worth. We're out of here. We have no job in El Paso. Guess what? Patrick, you interested in becoming the post president? I said, I just came here to give you a financial report. I'm like, really? So I became post president. I did that for 2 years. I showed up. So you never know what might happen. So just gotta, just keep doing that. So next slide, please.
That's the truth, Patrick. You never know who you connect with. And as far as the keep showing up, I like definitely keep showing up, but it's also more fun to show up with your friends, right? So if you have a good partner in crime, there'll be even more synergies. Sometimes with an SAME, 1 + 1 = 3, right? So find a buddy and you guys go tackle whatever's you're passionate about.
That's right. Yeah, this is my last slide. Opportunities are everywhere. When asked, say yes. When not, offer to step up and step in. The value of SAME, you have to determine the value of what you're going to get out of it or what you want to get out of it. We try to recruit and retain folks that best meet these. I look at the strategic objectives and like, holy cow, they pretty much align with my professional and personal career, and I have some time right now. My ebb and flow, and I have a little bit more time now than I did. I got 2 in college. One's an SAME member, and 2 of the 3 have been SAME camps. And one last story is that oldest one, he did not get again, if you're told no, we just kind of find a way to find yes. He was told no by the local post. He couldn't get to the camp. El Paso post said, sure, we got a slot for you. He went to the Air Force Academy camp, and he really found out, he's amazed. He came back and said, man, these other campers are impressive. They're coming from all over the country. They all know they want to be in the academy. They're working hard. They're taking all the toughest classes. And my son was doing a lot of that too, but he came back and he really buckled down his junior year. He got into the Air Force Academy, West Point, Virginia Tech, and Clemson, if you're keeping count. But the fact is, he went to West Point, and he's going to graduate in a month from West Point. And he cites back to that SAME camp. And he went back and became a junior mentor. He went back and served there on his own. He's like, this is so important, so powerful. I want to go back and help. He's not super active up at West Point's chapter because he's involved in the marathon team. Charmed life here. His first marathon was in Greece, But of course they've had them now. His last one's going to be in Gettysburg, I think, next week. But still impressive the reach of SAME and powerful. Last year, my youngest son tried to do a camp, and that ended up gone virtual, and he did enable one virtual, and I think it's probably going to be the same thing this year. But this is not about any one person. Again, 27,000 members, all kinds of different stories, but it's impressive the reach. And again, my kids I was a member before I was married. So the impact of the kids and the spouse and the wife is just something I definitely appreciate. And I'm so tickled that they're proud of SAME. So we've got a couple minutes left for questions. I haven't been monitoring chat, and I see my phone's about to die too. I have 10% power, we'll be fine. But
so what questions do you guys have for Patrick or any of the other seasoned SAME veterans on this call that I see? Quite a few fellows. So, I mean, Patrick covered, all of the COIs. That's an amazing way to get involved. Of course, your local post, is a fabulous way to stay in tune with friends that you see face to face more than, maybe other SAME members. But like Patrick said, if you've got an idea or if you see a gap or a need, step up, or help your buddy if they start an initiative. It's always more fun with a buddy. Anybody have any questions?
I did look at the chats real quick, and I do see, Craig Bryan, can't forget about the other Hokie, the other Army officer on the ballot too. Outstanding.
Right.
And
so I will mention, I think today is the last day to get your vote in for the national officers in our board of direction. So be sure you guys go do that. The other thing that I'll mention is that Matt Altman is putting together an SAME volunteer board. So I just got an email about it yesterday. So from a COI perspective, as our COI has needs, SAME account, and it's kind of like you post a job, you post a need, and then theoretically, all of the members can see the posts, and it can help facilitate just awareness and matching for those needs. So stay tuned for more information on that. If you hear about it, you can reach out to me or Matt Altman, who's leading that charge, Colonel Altman. Any other questions?
Caroline, I just wanted to emphasize one point that came up about noticing needs and then finding the right space to address that need. I did want to emphasize that even though our structure is pretty robust and we've got a lot of layers to the different ways people can get engaged, the actual work that needs to be done, a lot of times we just need the one person coming in with the idea to really action it. People shouldn't assume that because some of these groups have been around for forever that everything's been mapped out. There is still a lot of work that needs to get done, and we don't necessarily have all the answers within the COIs or the board. So we are looking for the folks that have those ideas to come in and bring that momentum with them.
Great point. Thank you, Eddie. And if you want to get inspired, stay tuned for, I think it's not next month because that's JETC, but the month after, when we're going to take a look at some of our participants in the leader development program and some of their projects. So things that they've identified that they're passionate about, and that they took a stance on leading a charge for SAME. All right, Patrick, we appreciate it. Thank you for, all the different ways you've served the society and for walking us through, the structure of SAME and all the different ways that people can be involved for awareness. So thank you. Great job.
Well, thank you all for listening, and we've got plenty more time to talk on the line, and I love to hear other people's stories, and I appreciate the work. There are a lot of folks behind the scenes that helped out with this, and I named many of them, but I didn't name them all, and I do appreciate the support that you provided to get this briefing put together.
All right, guys. Well, with that, we'll wish you a good afternoon, and we'll see you next month. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Patrick.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Eddie.
Bye.